This is my Space Lander challenge. This is my science and math project. My challenge was that I need to make a prototype for a NASA mission on Mars. I was only provided with a paper cup, balloon sticks, and a caps, papers, scotch tape. I think it's just regular tape and scissors. And they gave me 2 privileges. I can pick any objects that I can use for this project. Weapon, our goal is to let this thing able to land all of its 4 feet, and land safely with the astronaut inside. From our 6.5 meter high house. We drop it in from our roof to the floor. So, the methodology in this is first we planned about it. We planned on how it would look, the design, and what are the conditions that are needed for this to be successful. Then we designed it. After designing it, adding extra improvements here and there, making an accurate documentation, then we prototype it. After prototyping, we then test it. If that fails, we go back to designing, adding more modifications, then we prototype it again, and we tested it. If it's successfully tested, we finalize it. Here, this is in my planning and designing stage. Over here is Olympus 1. That's the name of my space lander. I'll just use this. Here, this is what Olympus 1 is actually, the conditions that I needed is that it needed to be light but strong. It needs to be sturdy but not too heavy. Then it needs to land on all of its feet without tipping over. It needs to be the materials that I was given to, and those 2 extra ones that I needed. I need to also it needs to be slow enough or have enough air drag, and it needs to stay upright to keep the astronaut safe. Over here, these are just the materials I used to make this. As I said, plastic, balloon holders or the caps, top for the spaceship, the ball for a person, paper for air resistance, tape for binding it all together. But after weapon, I tested it from dropping it from this height where I'm standing, and it landed successfully. Then I went a bit higher, and it worked. But when I go to the 6.5 roof deck, it failed because the wind, and also the wind made it tip over, and because of its physique, it's not able to contain enough drag, and immediately plummeted. Instead of becoming a space lander, Olympus 1 became a missile, a falling missile. Then, after this, I decided to go back to the drawing boards and figure out what I needed to do to fix it. I was like, what can I think to do? So, after a lot of planning, this is where I got my idea. This is Olympus 2. The teacher provided me 2 new objects, a garbage bag and a string. So I decided to use the powers of the internet to make a parachute. I used the garbage bag and a string and rope to make a parachute. And actually, it worked. It worked. Out of only a few times that it fell because I hit an object or the ropes got tied, it worked perfectly. It kept the thing stable and upright, and it slowed its fall by a lot. Then, it successfully works. This is where I prototyped it, and this is how my space lander looked. It looks very nice. I even added I used a spare rope to ensure that it will stay together when it fell. Any questions about the prototyping?
Yes. So, usually, no, in projects talaga, during the planning, it's very exciting. Pero, what can you say about your experience, di ba? The first time it failed, and then what's the important lesson that you learned?
Learn from your mistakes. As a wise man said, you need to overcome your mistakes. You have to keep on trying till you succeed, no matter how many times it has to be. So it took me it took me a couple of tries for me to finally get the correct to Olympus 2. And it took me a very while to build this spaceship. Surprisingly, it's very hard to keep these sticks very straight. Like when you keep it in this position, the side position, you really have to add a lot of tape to ensure that it doesn't go here, here, or here. And we even have to add extra braces on the top part of the paper and at the bottom to act as extra support. So, here, this is where I tested it. Hey guys, my name is Luke and welcome to Weekend Wild. Today, I made my own space lander and I named it Olympus 1. This is supposed to simulate a space lander going to Mars. Mars has an atmosphere that's 100 times thinner than Earth, so its gravity is much faster. So we decided to drop it from a balcony. Our goal is to make it land with its astronauts safely on the ground, and hopefully make it stand. So how I made this is that I used the balloon straws here to form a basic stretch, a basic form to make it absorb most of the impact. And I made them specifically pointing diagonally so that when it lands, the force on the ground is equally distributed. I also placed this paper above the spaceship to add more air resistance. And by the way, this is just prototype 1. Prototype 2 would have one huge surprise. So I'm keeping it a secret for later. So let's test it. So let's test this space lander from as high as I can reach. 3, 2, 1, land! Boom! It landed safely, and the astronaut is okay. So, let's go test it already and see if this thing can survive a fall from a balcony. So you can see that the parachute, we even later on you'll see something surprising. But I'll show you the results muna. Hey guys! Okay, here this is the result. The results of prototype Olympus 1, everything mostly failed. The lander became very wobbly and is not stable at all the times when it jumped from the high spot. What happened, we were able to, because how high we were at, it was 6.5 meters. Then we calculated how many seconds it fell. We get the seconds by getting the average of all three of them. Of all 3.2 seconds, 3.5 seconds, 4.1 seconds, and 3.6 seconds. We were able to get the average we get the average is 3.6 seconds. So to get the speed on how fast it came, we divide the distance divided by time. So it's 6.5 divided by 3.6. Once after we solved our problem, we were able to get to this, 1.8 meters a sec. So that's very fast. If you round it off, That's 2 meters a second. While when we go to Olympus 2, when we go to Olympus 2, all of the landings are successful. And the time it took, as we did the same that we did before. Oh, wait. We did same thing that we did before. We did the distance divided by the time, and we got 1.16 a sec. So after calculating, or we get it to the nearest ones, we get around 1 second, or 1.2 second, 1 meter a sec, or 1.2 meters a sec when you round it off to the nearest tenths. My conclusions about this experiment is that adding a parachute is the most effective way for a space lander because it increases the air drag and keeps the astronaut safe. There are more questions here. Number one, what did you learn about the activity? Well, I learned how to properly use the methodology in the processes. I also learned how to use the materials I had. I learned how to plan ahead, and I also learned about a thing or two about air drag and physics. The challenges that I encountered, for number 2, it said, what challenges or problems you encountered and what did I do about it? Well, the problems that I had is the design, because number 1, I need to make the design when I prototyped it to be light and strong, and it needed to land on all 4. After I finally did that, there were only a few problems with Olympus 1. Number 1, it became heavy, that the paper didn't really do too much of a help. Then another one is that the winds were the problem, and the space lander is going too fast. These problems were solved when I added the parachute. It slowed it significantly. So what I learned about the activity is that I needed to be patient, so that I need to focus on patience, because this took a very long time to finish, 2 days exactly. Then I need to be persevere, because I need to accept my mistakes and keep on improving the wrongs. Then I need to also be resourceful. I need to also be careful. I need to use the materials I had and use them as my advantage. Any questions, teacher?
Yes, I think your project is very interesting, no? And I agree that, it takes a lot of patience, perseverance, really, and resourcefulness, no, in order to look around, find the perfect material, no, that will work for your project, and then, creativeness then, no, adding, parang thinking of ways how to improve it. But with all that, what are your plans now for this project? Are you just going to put it aside, or you were planning for any progress, or what's the plan? What's the next plan?
So my next plan of this project, I think I'm gonna use it for my next grade 7, and I'm gonna try going in I think it might be a good idea to make final version and try to do it from a much more higher height. A much more taller height, and to see how to solve the problem, because even though the wind is strong, it drags the space lander. So when it hits objects, it will fall. So I need to figure out that problem too. But the probability of that happening is very low compared to Olympus 1. I also learned from God that I needed to be faithful. I need to let God do the work. I cannot do it. I cannot control the landing. It's only God who can. Not me. He's not in our world. We are in His. There.
Yes, so thank you for clarifying that. But really, I enjoyed your project. Parang the kid in me siguro wants to play with that toy. Diba? So, it's really nice. No?
Like it.
So, you develop it pa. So, you could, enjoy it more. Kasi sayang, no? The idea is, it's really good that you're able to solve that,
Wapen, we can even I can actually sell some of the parachutes for toys and for other things because the parachute is very easy to make. You just need to make an octagon shape and you just need some string. So after tying this thing together and placing it on a toy, it can be really called as a parachute toy. And the process is very easy to make. Example, you can just make a huge batch of these and then sell it to a party for kids as goodie toys. There.
Yeah, in like, a fair, di ba? Last time we had a family fair, pero I know you're too far to go to, to Imos, ayan. So, yeah, maybe next time that we will have that, you can sell your products there.
Okay, this is from my TLE, Filipino, and Matt Project.